As you may have seen in the past week or so, Google has announced AI mode, and it is a huge bombshell for all SEOers and B2B marketers, really. It's huge news that's going to impact the way that people discover your website and how they actually search and find information online.
For those who want an end-to-end AI search experience, we are introducing an all-new AI mode. And I'm excited to share that AI mode is coming to everyone in the US starting today.
Today, you'll see how you can ask anything, and a more intelligent, agentic, and personalized search will take on your toughest questions.
So as we just heard, Google have announced AI mode at their Google I/O conference. And you know what, it really has sent shockwaves through the entire, especially SEO community, but also B2B marketing as well. And if you haven't seen anything around AI mode yet, then I'd definitely, listen to this podcast for sure to give you a bit of insight into it and how it's going to impact you. But go away, do some research, set it up yourself and have a play around, because it really is a completely new transformation to search. And as Google themselves said in the I/O conference, it's the future of search. And this is going to impact us all. So we need to get our heads around it and how that's going to impact us as soon as possible, really. So let's actually just call out what I'm going to cover in this episode. So firstly, I'll actually just take you through what AI mode is if you haven't seen it yet and give you a bit of an overview. I'll also demo some examples of what AI mode looks like in Google and how the actual UI works and what it looks like. After the demo, I want to talk a little bit about the future of search and where I think things are heading. Obviously, we've got nothing concrete yet to actually give us evidence of the impact of this, but we can kind of base it on what we're seeing around AI overviews and how, this bigger conversational shift with AI mode is going to impact that even further. The impact that I think this could be having on B2B businesses, the impact on advertising as well, I think is quite interesting to dig into what we're potentially going to see around Google Ads, although nothing has exactly come out yet to announce this. But I think, we can make some initial indications of what we might expect there. And really, I think, what do we do next is one thing that's probably on everyone's mind. We've got these huge changes happening. What on earth do we do about it? Let's get into the first section, which is all about what AI mode is. So, as you probably heard from Google's announcement at the start of this episode, and if you've actually watched the I/O conference or any parts of it, Google have announced AI mode, which is essentially a new feature, almost a new product within search, which is a conversational search experience, very much like Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude. And it essentially works directly within Google search itself and has a conversational interface. AI mode is powered by Gemini 2.5 Pro, which is Google's most advanced AI model. So it essentially takes one question, usually a longer query that you would typically ask as a question in AI, and breaks it out into 15 plus related searches. So it dives deep basically in the question that you ask, and it integrates anything from Google, really, from knowledge graphs, shopping data, live web content. It basically scrapes the web for that information and serves it in AI mode. And it's all within that conversational interface like we just discussed. So, it is similar to interfaces you'd have experienced with other large language models, but when you compare the differences between things like ChatGPT, Claude, essentially Google has real-time access to its data integration. So Google has a key advantage there to serve you up-to-date information rather than rely on outdated large language models. And, we can talk about the impact and the difference between traditional search a bit deeper, but I think, when I just demo this and show you the core difference between AI mode and traditional search is the conversational element of it versus link-based result. This podcast is brought to you by Blend. We're a B2B website and demand generation agency. We work with ambitious businesses just like yours to create and execute effective demand generation strategies that drive pipeline for your business. We also recognize that your website is the most important asset you have in marketing. So we specialize in building scalable websites on HubSpot that convert the demand that you've created. If you want to find out more about our services and see real results that we've generated for businesses, visit blendb2b.com. We've all heard of zero-click searches, and this is really just doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on zero-click itself. Google want to be able to answer your question and serve you information directly in their platform itself. So, is this the end of the blue links as we know it? Potentially, kind of. We'll get into that a little bit more later in this episode. But for now, I actually just want to show you Google AI mode if you haven't had a chance to look at it yet. It's worth saying as well that AI mode has been in beta a few months now, is being rolled out to the US as we speak in the next weeks and months, and will then be rolled out internationally. So if you wanted to test it out anywhere outside of the US, you'll need a VPN to do that. But once you have a VPN, you can jump into AI mode and check it out. I think if you don't have access to it straight away, then you'll need to go into Google Labs and just enable AI mode. But I would definitely do it and test it out, because it kind of gives you a feel for what's coming, and gives you a bit of early access to the changes being made too, so you can prepare in the best way possible. Okay, so let's open up this AI mode window in my browser here. And if you're listening on audio, by the way, I'll try and talk you through this the best as possible, but it's probably worth heading over to YouTube to actually have a look at how AI mode looks and functions and responds, but I'll kind of walk you through it. So within Google search itself, once you've enabled AI mode, you can jump straight to it and basically have AI mode here. If not, if you don't see that straight away, you'll see if I search for something here like best CRM for manufacturing companies, so let's go with that. Then we've got our standard all tab here, all of our information that will dynamically pull in any relevant boxes and knowledge panels and things like that. And then you can see on the left hand side here of all of our functions, so all videos, images, we've got AI mode right on the left. Now when we click that, it's going to do the same search there, but I can ask it something new if I want to. We then get our new AI mode answer. So here I've asked for best CRM for manufacturing companies, and what I've got as the response is a really good breakdown of some different CRM options here, the kind of different tiers that they think is good. So we've got top tier, mid tier, specialized CRMs focused particularly on manufacturing needs. Very specific answers to my query around manufacturing companies. It's really honed in on that industry that I've put in here and given me the answers to it. I'd probably like to see HubSpot featured more, especially in top tier. But there we go. And what we can see now is if I scroll down, we've got no blue links here. We've actually only got 3 links initially served on the right hand side here. So we can hit show all, and then I can scroll down and see all of the links that are being referenced from here, and that are just going to support this information essentially. Not always reference links, because you can now see them throughout. When I click on this piece of information, it's going to show me the links that are being referenced to pull that there. Most of the time it's reference links though, so every time we click on that we'll see the reference, and that's how these 18 sites are now being brought in on the right hand side here. So the most important thing and change happening here is that Google are trying to answer your question in a deep way right within this chat window itself, and we're only seeing 3 websites here on the right hand side of the panel. So if you're not in these 3 websites here, it's even more unlikely now that people are going to go show all and then actually find your website itself. So this is taking the importance of being cited here to the next level, because if you're having no visibility here, then there is a really strong chance that you're not going to get any traffic from content that's being related to this query. The other interesting thing to consider is how you can carry on the conversation here. So I've initially asked best CRM for manufacturing companies. I then might want to ask, what about CRMs that have good integrations with ERPs? Because that is important to manufacturers, and it carries on that conversation essentially now. So it's now, taking the initial context that that it gave to me about CRMs for manufacturers, and it's now drilling down on the ones that have a strong integration between CRM and ERP systems. So we've got similar answers here, but it does tell you a little bit more about how they specifically are tailored to integrate with ERP systems. So, it's answering my question even more so in this window again now. When you think about the difference between this and how we would traditionally find this information, we would probably make that initial search, look for best CRM for manufacturing companies, would probably dive around a bit, maybe on, the vendor's website, maybe doing more additional searches to say, does Salesforce integrate with ERPs? We might do a separate search altogether for what CRMs have good integrations with ERPs, and then look at all of these websites. But Google is now just pulling all of this information directly into the chat window that we don't necessarily need to actually look at any other content other than what we're seeing here, because it's actually doing a good job at consolidating that information and presenting it to us directly within the UI here. So this is a really, really huge fundamental change to search, and there's no denying the impact that this will have. Now if we try something a little bit more complex, and what I'm keen to do here, by the way, is actually show a lot of B2B examples, because if you look for anything AI mode related, everyone's kind of asking, what are the best trainers for this? What's the best family car and SUV and those kind of things? But it's like, actually for our audience especially, and for a lot of marketers that I speak to, the impact on B2B can vary because of complex buying decisions, the need to evaluate, tens, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars worth of, product or service sometimes. And those buyer journeys are different to an e-commerce product like trainers or even cars, for example. So it's important to see how this is going to impact B2B as well. So if I put in a more complex query here, which is ROI analysis tools for SaaS companies under 50 employees with integration requirements for CRM data, why not? That doesn't even make full sense, but I'm going to just plug it in anyway and see what AI mode comes back with. So typically, there wouldn't be any content, let's face it, related to this particular keyword. We'd have to do a lot of digging to find the right kind of software in place that is an ROI analysis tool. It's suitable for companies under 50 employees, and within that range it's a really sweet spot, and it integrates to our CRM. Now what we have is Google scraping the web, scraping data that it has to actually find the answer to this. And what we've got here is the answer split out. So all-in-one CRM and ROI analysis tools like HubSpot CRM, Zoho, Pipedrive, and it gives you reasons why these are great. Then we've got specialized ROI analysis tools that have CRM integration capabilities, and then general analytics platforms, which do require more configuration for ROI, how to choose the right tool. So, we've got such a great suite of options there. Do we want something all-in-one? Do we want something more specialized? Do we want, just a more general analytics platform that we can then configure for ROI? All of these options here are just fantastic. And then I can, potentially follow up with, which is the most cost-effective option, but will give me the best insight overall. That's a pretty, interesting question to get some more in-depth information here. And then we've got strong contenders, which it's kind of now just delving deeper on my initial answers that it gave me, but it's still giving me the content that I want here, because now it's telling me why it's cost effective, why HubSpot is the most cost effective option in this space, why Zoho is good, Chart Mogul is actually a new one that's come up there. Then other options as well. Like, all of this content is being served directly in this chat window. I don't think I can emphasize that enough. Like, the difference in search experience here is just so great. We don't have to click through any links to find this information, to find, how much any of these things, what is the most cost effective option. We don't have to click into each of these links to find that, and see the analysis on whatever website it may be, or even the own vendor's website. We essentially get that information here, and then we can go to the vendor's website with that information as well. So it kind of just pushes all the informational gathering and evaluation process into this chat window itself, into Google AI mode, and then leaves the more in-depth stuff at the end of the process for the website itself, where, okay, after I've gathered some of this initial information, I'll then go and check out HubSpot's website and Zoho's website and compare them more closely. But I can do a lot of the initial research and evaluation just through Google AI mode right here. What I find really interesting as well is that within Google's I/O conference, they stated this as the future of search. And let's just go back to the All tab here, because this is obviously what we're all used to, right? We've got our nice blue links in here. There's no example. Oh, okay, we've got some knowledge boxes being pulled in here for people also search for. But, we might have some knowledge pulled in, some video aspects here that are all dynamically pulled in depending on our search. So if I go in actually and change this to ROI analysis tools, we'll probably get some more interesting things. So we've got a featured snippet here. I thought we might, we've got some videos down here. So this is all being dynamically pulled depending on what we search here. The same for the positioning of all of these elements here, like images, videos, shopping, short videos, news. All of these tabs here are dynamically positioned based on what we search for. I find it really interesting that Google have positioned AI mode on the left-hand side before all. And, it doesn't worry me slightly, because I think we need to be alive to any changes that are made. But to me, it signals that Google have called this the future of search, right? And it's being positioned in Google before all. Is it just a matter of time before AI mode is the default browsing experience? I think it could be. I think they will make some big adaptations to the way that AI mode presents information, because this was just recently out of beta, and we've already seen with so many changes that happen in Google, like they are just iterating over time. So what we see today will absolutely not be what we have in a year or 2 years time. Like, it will change drastically based on the feedback they're receiving. But I do think AI mode is in a very strong position now to be the default browsing experience, especially with what Google have said around it being the future of search. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit more now about where this is heading and the future of search. Like I've just mentioned, I do think that this is the future of search potentially. Maybe there's no potentially about it, and it actually is. I think Google have positioned it in that way for sure. So we need to kind of prepare ourselves for that reality. And I think Google have this vision of an end-to-end AI search experience, which I do think is planned to replace our traditional beloved blue link search experience. And it's all about the conversational multi-step research that you get from an AI experience. And it keeps people on Google's platform ultimately. And Google are there to serve information to people and become that source of info and research and, part of that process to gather information. And if they can do that in the best way possible to serve their users in the best way possible, then I think they'll do that too. There's obviously, a huge kind of debate right now in the SEO communities, which is like, well, we'll just stop producing content then, which will basically bring Google to be out of date, and it won't have that information to pull on to actually get the most up-to-date information. So there is a catch-22 here for Google, which is if they strip out all of the blue links and the traffic that they will send to websites, then why would people carry on producing content? That then renders Google's model for serving information completely out of date, because where did they get it from? So there is this dilemma happening right now, and do we continue to produce content or not, which I'll move on to at the end. But yeah, I think the conversational multi-step research is really where Google are trying to take this, and I think they just need to figure out the way right now to still have these blue links integrated to actually get websites to have traffic. And also a key one for them will be how on earth do they integrate Google Ads into this experience, because they will absolutely have to for their revenue stream. But how is the big question, and there's no indication right now of how they're going to position ads in AI mode. There are no ads in AI mode right now at all, but I think we will see them rolled out, and we'll keep a close eye on that. Based on Google's I/O announcements as well, we already know there are some amazing upcoming features to support AI mode, like deep research, where AI can conduct comprehensive research reports within that window, a shopping integration, that's probably where we'll start to see ads come in as well, multimodal search, so you can use voice, image, and text all combined to then get your response, personal context, so that Google will essentially integrate it with your users' data. So your Google profile will basically train Google to give you a different response based on your watch history, your browsing history, all of these kind of things. You'll get a more personal response, and real-time visual search as well. So your camera based interactive search experience, so whatever you're seeing on your camera will then search in Google. So yeah, some quite cool, interesting updates coming, which is only going to kind of buff up Google AI mode's capabilities and probably increase the likelihood of them trying to serve it to more people. What implications does this have on the market? Well, I think there's a few key ones just in terms of like the search experience itself. So I think there'll be some key behavior evolution within search itself. Right now, we know that people are searching for longer queries. I can't remember, there was some data on this, but people are already searching for longer search queries. And AI mode only prompts people to have longer, more conversational queries as well. Because if you're searching for something really particular, you no longer just need to search for a couple of words to then try and dig your way through results to actually get the information you need. You can ask it all straight directly in the window to actually get that response, and ask follow-up questions as well to get more of your answers directly within that window itself. And I think the user expectation and behavioral shift will change to get to want more immediate comprehensive answers. There'll be a growing frustration to actually have to do a lot of effort and manual research process to get answers, much like now where we see AI, replicating tasks. It takes transcripts from meetings, and it's like, why on earth would we ever have a meeting note taker in the business now to actually come in and type that up? Like those kind of things. It will be like, we go into search, why on earth would we click through those blue links to get all of that information when I can just get it from AI mode? There's some synergies there that I think will become, and basically, there's just a kind of expectation shift from users, which I think will come from this. Everyone is going to see some impact from this, whether it be good or bad. Probably more so bad in terms of traffic for most businesses. I think there was a stat I saw from Ahrefs, which was we're already seeing about 35% less clicks from queries with AI overviews in Google. Now, if we compare the AI overview experience to the AI mode experience, it's quite different, because AI mode still is just part of the native traditional search experience where we've just got the box that answers the question, but all of our links still remain in there. It's still very familiar, it's intuitive, we understand to get information elsewhere if we need it. AI mode is really containing your search experience to be more conversational. It's kind of supplementing it with links, but that's not the core experience. The core experience is the conversational answer you're getting back. So a 35% decrease in clicks from queries with AI overviews is what we're seeing right now. I expect that to be a lot larger with AI mode, but also the queries won't be as comparable, because I think the conversational nature of it will end up in such unique long queries. The two won't actually be comparable, but there's no doubt it's going to take some traffic. What does that actually mean for us? Well, I think whilst traffic drops, it does mean that the traffic we do get to our website will be more qualified, because users are getting pre-educated through that AI experience. Very much like how I showed you when I was looking for ROI analysis tools and kind of figuring out CRMs and things like that. I was getting a lot of the information, the pre-research and pre-evaluation information from AI mode, a lot like how people are getting it from ChatGPT and Claude and Perplexity and Gemini itself right now. But at the end of the day, when it comes to B2B, we still need to go to that website, make sure it's a true business, and we can actually identify the things that are being said in AI mode for ourselves on the website, and actually trust our own intellectual experiences and what we actually need from that product or solution, and if they will match our expectations from looking at the website itself and kind of understanding how it suits our needs. So similar to how we're seeing AI overviews take a lot of informational search traffic, I think AI mode is going to do exactly the same thing. We're going to see an even bigger drop in informational search traffic, and it might start to creep into some of the more kind of middle of the funnel research and evaluation type content too. But I still think for now, like, the commercial intent queries will be quite safe from AI mode, especially when it comes to B2B purchases, because businesses, and the purchaser, the buyer, will still need to evaluate your product on their own. Like, when we're talking about tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars worth of purchases here, AI mode still probably isn't going to be trusted to make that final decision. You'll need to navigate to that website. You'll need to back up, what AI mode is saying for yourself, like by reading it, by understanding the nuances of your own situation and, your complex needs that you still won't be able to get from AI mode. That is internal within you. AI mode won't help you do that. So you need to basically take what you know and apply it to what you're reading, and AI mode won't always have that. You'll need to actually direct yourself to the website where you ultimately convert. So whilst I do think that informational traffic will be gobbled up even more, there's almost no doubting that. When it comes to our commercial traffic and then the commercial high intent inquiries we get off the back of that, we might not see that drop off quite as much as soon. It might be inevitable that happens slowly in the long run, but I think for the short term, and just the way that B2B buying happens, it's likely that we'll still see commercial intent search directing people more to websites, and high intent leads from search remain fairly stable, potentially a bit of drop off. The evolution of content is something we've spoken about on this podcast already, but I think that's becoming more important, and we might even see AI mode eventually. I think we will start to see it include more like video content from YouTube, for example, to help answer those questions. Because it's conversational, it'll be interesting to see how that works and how they then direct people to video, because it's a chat window. But I think we could see it for sure. But I think the way that buyers are consuming information and consuming content is, video first anyway. Channels are prioritizing video first. Buyers are wanting to consume video content in lots of different ways. So businesses need to adapt to that shift in buyer preferences. That's already happened, by the way. And, we're trying to get to the point with some of our clients as well, where we're prioritizing that long form piece of content at the start that we can then repurpose in lots of different ways. And we're seeing some great benefits from that too. And that's only helping us produce content faster in more mediums in a much better way, because we've got that initial point of view that we can then serve throughout all of our content. And, it actually gives you something interesting to say too. And what that enables AI mode to do, if we're producing more content on the right things that we're linking, internally, that's great for our commercial keyword ranking and exposure on whatever that might look like in the future. But it also gives us more chance of actually being mentioned in AI mode, which I think is going to become more important. And we will talk more about that on the podcast too, because that is something we're looking at quite a lot at Blend right now, which is essentially GEO, which you've probably heard of, generative engine optimization. How do you actually get found in AI? And I think that's going to become quite important for AI mode. Figuring out how your brand gets mentioned there, becoming kind of more brand orientated, figuring out how you get mentioned will almost become like the new ranking signal. It's kind of like how many times you mentioned compared to position 1 to 10, for example. I briefly touched on the impact of ads, which I do think this is an interesting one, because I'm not too sure how Google are going to get around this, because right now, even with AI overviews, we don't always see ads integrated into the AI overview window itself. They're either above or below. And I think Google came out and said that themselves, that that's typically how they're served. But I have seen them in the AI overview box themselves. I think, without a doubt, Google will be figuring out a way to implement ads into AI mode, because they have to for their own revenue. They're not just going to completely lose that stream. My best guess will be that they'll still appear on the right hand side. So within the cited websites, it might retain its own box, but you'll have ad placements above or below that. In terms of how you then target keywords and things with the conversational nature, I think that will evolve in itself, and you might have to go down a more phrase match type route to actually capture all those long tail queries, because a direct match probably isn't going to be the best fit for the way that conversational search is in itself. So some big changes to come, I think, in the way that ads are going to be served in Google, and particularly how they are served in AI mode. For me, I think as soon as that gets rolled out, AI mode ads in particular, like I'm going to be directing a lot of our budget elsewhere into that, because I think if you can be an early mover in that and have ads showing in AI mode, it's a kind of big lever you might be able to pull quite early on to kind of get that exposure that people aren't yet set up to get. So if that does come and we can get some ads out there, we'll obviously share any results on this podcast that we're seeing. Just quickly wrapping up, like what to do next, which I think we've kind of covered throughout this podcast, but obviously the immediate steps are to try and get seen as much as possible in Google AI mode. And as far as, we've researched and can tell that Geo, which is essentially what this is, the best way to get ranked in there is still kind of our traditional SEO methods, by producing unique, valuable content that Google can then cite in its answers, and so can other large language models. So there's that aspect, kind of continuing to do that, but also adapting your content strategy in such a way that enables you to get your brand seen in the areas where attention is shifting, which is largely in social and for video too. So things like YouTube and LinkedIn, how do you actually get seen there? That could be in a paid for way to actually reach the right people, or how do you kind of establish that organic process that enables you to get a unique point of view into the market and have engagement and attention ultimately from the market. Marketing is a game of attention. You need to go where that attention is and ensure that the market is resonating with your message and your brand is being seen and creating memorable experiences that they keep coming back to. But the world of SEO is changing like massively and quickly at the moment. It's a tricky one to see exactly where we're going, and I'm interested to probably get Phil on an episode in the next few weeks to get his thoughts as well, and give myself a bit more time to do some more research into this and have a bit of more play around with AI mode and try and bring some more consolidated thoughts on exactly how we get mentioned in AI mode and kind of what that means for our traditional content plays like blogging, like pillar pages. Should we still do it? I think for now the answer is probably yes, because the commercial value of Google and SEO is still there. We still see high intent leads from Google across multiple businesses, and we know that in order to be seen for commercial queries, we need high value content, interlinking to those with exact match keywords, etc. But is that changing? I think it's probably too early to tell yet, but we definitely need to be on the pulse, and we'll bring you any insights that we get to that. But I just wanted to kind of bring this, I'm calling it an emergency episode, to you, because this is a huge change that I think all marketers need to really kind of just do a bit of research on and figure out what's next. And we'll do the same and bring you any insights that we have along the way, for sure, as always. But yeah, it's really interesting, and I think a lot of SEOs and marketers are probably like scared about this. But if you think about the marketers that are now just joining the workforce, they're fresh out of uni or whatever it may be, and they're getting into their first marketing job. This is all new. This isn't new to them. This is just the norm. Like, this is what it is now. And they will figure out the ways to work with what it is now and get results in the current landscape, and I think we all need to do the same. We can't think about, oh, what if that was this way, or what if that didn't change? Like, we just need to actually figure out what is working next. And we're doing that at Blend, I think, in a good way, figuring out how to get attention from these other places. But there's definitely more work to do for everyone to understand the impact of AI mode in particular, and the search landscape itself, which is just changing quickly. But I think it's exciting. It's a new era of marketing almost that we can all be excited about and take on the next challenge, I suppose. So an interesting episode for the podcast there. It's worth saying as well, we'll have an episode coming out at some point to announce our kind of like new YouTube setup, but we do have a new YouTube channel called Demand Decoded itself. We split it out from the Blend channel for multiple reasons, which I'll call out in another podcast. But if you are listening to this right now and want to head over to YouTube to subscribe to us there and watch, the content, which is, visual at times when I'm diving through demos, that would be hugely, hugely appreciated. In the meantime, drop us a follow, drop us a like, anything is appreciated. And I'll catch you next time. Bye, everyone.